Well, hey, everybody. Tomorrow, Alex Murdaugh's defense team is going to start earning their pay as they try to tear apart holes in the prosecution's case against a man who's been charged with gunning down his wife and son. Is GIS, that's mapping, going to prove the big lie is real? Well, last week ended the state's presentation of evidence in the Alex Murdaugh trial. It's happening down in South Carolina. And the question I've got is, did General Motors' release of that GPS data off of Murdaugh's 2021 Chevrolet Suburban sink the accused killer's ship? I mean, let's look at what we're learning by visiting a map. And please, folks, take a moment as we get started and hit that like and subscribe button as we jump into this short video example of why location matters. Now, the state of Carolina put Special Agent Peter Rudolfsky on the stand as they closed their case last week, just to share information that the General Motors information they got in the 11th hour, I might add, makes all the difference. Now, for those who worried that the state wasn't doing that great of a job on showing motive in this murder case, the star may in fact be that GM OnStar system. And here's why. Earlier in the day, they went back and they started looking at the information. Now, if you think about this, the FBI put together a great case showing forensically where the vehicle was, basically impeaching Murdaugh's testimony that he wasn't anywhere around when the murders happened. So let's go back in time about 9 hours, because it was about noon, 12:06 p.m. to be in fact, when Murdaugh is driving his vehicle to his workplace in Hampton. Now, that's about a 19-minute drive according to navigation software. And about halfway through the trip, Murdaugh takes the speed up to about 65 miles an hour. It's the fastest he drives, but these are 55-mile-an-hour roads. Now, he stays at work until 6:24 p.m., but if you remember, a testimony has come out that it's at work that he apparently is confronted with these fraud allegations, that he'd been stealing money from the law firm and, of course, from the clients. We saw some really compelling witness testimony about that money, about the confrontation, and how it impacted others. Well, after leaving work, again, this is after he was confronted about the fraud, Murdaugh drives to Moselle, where he arrives at 6:42 p.m. And there he remains for the next 2.5 hours, according to forensics. And here's something really important. Alex's phone isn't used between 6:52 p.m. and about 9:02 p.m., which is a few minutes after the murders occurred. Now, Paul and Maggie are actively using their mobile devices up until 8:49 p.m., and that's when police believe that about a minute later they were killed. Now, here's something that I learned today as I went back and re-listened to the prosecution's opening statements. Now, I have said on this show a number of times that my theory had always been that Maggie was the first to die. I just really felt strongly about that. Frankly, I still do. But you know what? There's something really compelling that suggests that Paul was actually shot first. And that's going to go right in hand with what a lot of you have been saying. Now, I'm saying this because the prosecutor, Creighton Waters, said in his opening statements that Paul was shot dead first at 8:50 p.m. and that Maggie was killed minutes later. I don't know how they came up with this, but they certainly have come up with it, and they've made it official in that opening argument. So I'm going to have to kind of lean their direction. I hope that they'll somehow release why and how they base their theories in this manner. But it makes me wonder, what on earth was it that told them that that was the order? But now let's talk about the murders for a minute. The murders have occurred, and here's where the forensics get really important. You see, after the murder, Alex's phone, again, if you remember, wasn't used between 6:52 p.m. when he gets home from his office till 9:02 p.m. That's just a couple minutes after the murders, and that's when investigators say his phone moved 283 steps. You heard me say it was about 3 football fields that he was moving around. Now, the evidence shows that he began using his phone, and at 9:07 p.m., the vehicle records that it's driving away from the Moselle property, presumably en route to his parents' home in Almeida. Now, only 1 minute after leaving the Moselle property, Alex Murdaugh travels past the location where Maggie's phone would later be discovered. Now, he's driving at about 45 miles an hour when he passes the exact location where her phone is found on the side of the road. Now, here's what's really interesting. He immediately starts accelerating after passing that place where Maggie's phone was disposed of. The evidence is coming from GM's OnStar data, and prosecutors believe that Murdaugh threw Maggie's phone out of the driver's side window as he motored southbound. He arrived at his parents' home in Almeida at about 9:07 p.m. This is 15 minutes later. So here's why I think this is so important. You see, this is normally a 19-minute drive, and Murdaugh makes that trip in about 15 minutes. That's only 4 minutes faster than normal. And here's what's so significant to me. When you think about it in minutes, 4 minutes just doesn't seem like that big of a difference. But when you look at the time difference in percentages, it becomes a whole lot more interesting. And here's why. Now think about this. That trip being 4 minutes faster was actually 21% faster than any usual times that he would go there. And this suggests that he was speeding. And the OnStar data actually revealed that he reached speeds in excess of 74 miles an hour on that leg. Now, the maximum posted speed limit in the area is only 55 miles per hour. Now, Radolfsky testified that Murdaugh remained at his parents' home for 21 minutes. Now, this is really important too, because think about the fact that Murdaugh, we learned this under testimony by the caretaker for Murdaugh's mother, Murdaugh reportedly tried to convince the caretaker that he was at their home for 40 minutes or longer. Why on earth is he doing that? Now, again, think about this. He was really only there for 21 minutes. He was trying to get the caretaker to say he was there for 40 minutes. I hope you'll go back and listen to her testimony, because I thought it was incredibly powerful and very damaging to Murdaugh's defense. Well, hey, folks, I'm pausing to share some concerns I have surrounding identity theft and fraud. I've learned a lot from our partner, Aura. They're the pros at protecting people from cyber predators. Aura provides identity theft protection, credit and fraud protection, and online and device security for you and your family. They taught me to think twice before answering those online questionnaires designed to steal our personal information. You know, it must be working, because U.S. statistics show that 33% of us have been victimized by identity theft at an annual cost of more than $56 billion each year. Aura protection plans come with around-the-clock support, a money-back guarantee, and $1 million theft policy. But here's the best part. You can try Aura for free by clicking on this special Profiling Evil link in the description down below. When you do, we get a small commission. But think about it. You insure your car and you insure your house. Don't you think it's time to insure your identity? Now let's get back to today's discussion. Well, at 9:43 p.m., Murdaugh leaves his parents' home and he makes the drive back to the Moselle property, arriving exactly at 10 p.m. Now, the evidence shows that he drove to the house first. And this is important to point out again, that the return trip was 17 minutes long. So, again, it was a little longer than the time leaving the property. 2 minutes difference. Now, Murdaugh hung around the house for about 5 minutes before he headed over to the kennels. arriving there at 10:06 p.m. 1 minute later, he places the 911 call, which lasts about 7 minutes. Now, this brings me to, again, another interesting point in my opinion. If the 911 call lasts 7 minutes, in fact, in reality, almost 8 minutes, Murdaugh would have had to have driven back to the main house about 4 minutes into that 911 call. That means he's in the middle of screaming that his wife and son have been murdered, and he has the presence of mind while he's talking on the phone making a 911 call to get in his vehicle and drive back to the house where he spends a little more time. In fact, he doesn't return to the crime scene until 10:14 p.m., just as that 911 call is ending. And he says that he ran to the house to get a shotgun. Now, I think the prosecution did a great job of getting that GM OnStar data into the courtroom to highlight and support the data that the independent FBI examiner created on Murdaugh's travels. The OnStar data did something, though, that the FBI data didn't do, and that is that it gave vehicle speeds, which, according to the experts, Murdaugh reached speeds of 80 miles an hour as he raced back and forth. This is a pretty significant piece of information, and the state was really, I think, pretty smart in revealing again that this is a 55-mile-an-hour road. This isn't about a speeding case. This is about, normally he traveled close to the speed limit, but that night, after the murders and returning, he was reaching speeds of up to 80 miles an hour on roads that are only designed to be traveled at 55. And that's when they're in good shape. And more testimony came out that the county roads were treacherous, filled with potholes, and at night covered with deer, making it much more dangerous for vehicles to go very fast. Well, GIS, that's mapping, is proving to be incredibly valuable in this murder case. And I think it's going to be the one big thing that truly makes it possible for us to focus on what has become Alex Murdaugh's big lie. He was at Moselle, if we believe the data, when those murders occurred. So the real question for the jury is whether they're going to believe the forensic, the physical, the behavioral, and the circumstantial evidence, or are they going to determine that Alex Murdaugh is a grieving man who was victimized by the unexplainable murder of his son and wife? So what's your opinion on this one, folks? Do you think Alex Murdaugh killed Maggie and Paul? I hope you'll put your answers down below. Tomorrow, the Murdaugh defense team is going to come out swinging, and we're going to find ourselves asking a whole bunch of different questions than we're asking today. Personally, I think it's going to be a whole bunch of who shot John, or in this case, Maggie and Paul. So thanks for listening to Profiling Evil. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And if you like podcasts, check us out on Profiling Evil Podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. And make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button and ring the bell so you're getting all of our notifications. I hope you'll watch for me on Court TV this week with Julie Grant. We're going to be talking about the Murdaugh case. And who knows, I might even pop up on a few other news programs along the way. Thanks again, and we'll see you all soon at the next crime scene.